All right, let's get right into it. Whether you're in the C-suite trying to figure out the ROI on your AI spend, or you're an engineer on the ground tasked with actually making it all work, you've probably felt it, that huge gap between the promise of AI and the day-to-day reality. Well, today we're going to close that gap. We are building the roadmap for making AI deliver real, measurable value to your business. Let's do this.
So we have to start with this really painful number, 95%. That's the reality for most companies right now. We're pouring billions of dollars into AI, but the vast majority of these projects are getting stuck in what I call pilot purgatory. They never actually impact the bottom line. So what's really going on here?
You know, the core of the problem is right here on this slide. Most companies are treating AI like it's just another feature, something you can bolt onto the old way of doing things, onto your existing human-paced workflows. But that approach, it just doesn't scale. To really win, you can't just use AI. You have to fundamentally redesign your entire organization to operate at the speed of AI. And that means we need a massive pivot in our thinking. We call it the agentic shift. It's all about moving away from seeing AI as a passive tool that we use to seeing it as an active and even autonomous teammate that helps drive the work forward.
The engine that's driving this entire shift is something called Agentic AI. Now, don't just think of a chatbot that answers questions. That's not what this is. Think of this more like a digital employee. You can give it a high-level goal, something like, hey, reduce our customer churn by 10%. And then it goes off. It independently plans the steps, it executes the tasks, and it adapts its own strategy along the way to actually hit that target.
Okay, let's break this down a bit because this is really important. Look at that autonomy row. Traditional AI is all about rules. Generative AI responds to your prompts. But agentic AI, it's truly goal-driven. It's not just about one interaction. It has this long-term goal persistence, and it can dynamically adapt its own approach, just like a great human team member would. That right there is the key difference. And that capability, it's a complete and total game changer. This is not about making your software development pipeline a little bit faster. No, it's about transforming that pipeline from a rigid, old-school assembly line into an intelligent, self-optimizing system that actually learns and evolves with every single deployment.
So how do you actually build an organization that can do this? It really comes down to a blueprint, one that's built on 3 foundational pillars. This is the roadmap for both leaders and engineers.
The first pillar is all about strategy and governance. But, and this is key, we need to completely reframe what governance means. It's not the department of no anymore. In the age of AI, good governance is the accelerator. It's what gives you the confidence to move fast, safely.
And this quote from Carrie Smith just nails it. It perfectly illustrates the mindset shift. The time for doing little, isolated experiments is over. The organizations that are going to win in the next decade are the ones building the enterprise-wide architecture for AI to operate safely and at scale.
I love this analogy. Think of governance like the brakes on a Formula One car. They aren't there to slow the car down. They're there to allow the driver to go much faster around the corners with confidence. That is what defining these rules of the road up front does for your AI strategy.
Okay, so that governance framework is what allows us to move to our second pillar, re-architecting your technology and your operating model. We have to get away from that slow, top-down trickle of information that so many companies are used to, and instead build a decentralized, machine-speed network.
Now look, this is an evolution. It doesn't happen overnight. You start by using AI to maybe assist with some small tasks. Then you move into a hybrid model where humans and AI agents are co-owning workflows. And eventually, you get to a place where AI manages most processes autonomously, which leads to a culture where self-optimization is just the default.
So the crucial point is really this transition. For all the engineers watching, think about it like moving from a giant monolithic application to a microservices architecture. You're breaking down a static, sequential pipeline into a dynamic, parallel system that adapts in real time. It's literally the difference between an assembly line and a living, breathing ecosystem. But, and this is so important, that living ecosystem does not run on its own, which brings us to what might be the most important pillar of all, your people. This entire transformation is powered by a new kind of human-machine culture.
And let's be super clear here. This is not about replacing people. It is about augmenting them. It means we have to redesign roles from being doers to being reviewers and goal setters. By automating all that repetitive work, you free up your team to focus on what we humans do best: strategic thinking, creative problem solving, and making those high-stakes judgment calls.
So, Why does all of this matter? Why go through this fundamental, sometimes difficult shift? Well, let's look at the payoff, because honestly, the numbers here are staggering.
In the industries that are most exposed to AI, productivity growth has already quadrupled. Yeah, not doubled, quadrupled. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some small incremental gain. It's a fundamental step change in what is even possible.
And you know what? That translates directly to the bottom line. We're seeing that successful AI agent deployments are consistently delivering an ROI of over 3 times the initial investment. Some are even reaching as high as 6 times.
This also means you just move faster, way faster than your competition. Mature, AI-native teams are shipping new products and new features 30 to 50% faster. That isn't just an efficiency gain. That is a massive competitive advantage in the market.
And this is a really critical point, especially for anyone in the C-suite. The value here isn't one-dimensional. It's not just about cost savings. It's a whole portfolio of returns that spans everything from raw productivity and efficiency to better risk management and ultimately long-term strategic positioning.
So what's the single most important takeaway from all of this? If you remember one thing, let it be this. Your next move is not another isolated pilot project.
Instead, here is a tangible 6-month roadmap. In month 1, you run a diagnostic to see where you really are. By month 2, you're building that foundational center of excellence. Month 3 is about building muscle memory, getting some quick wins, standardizing your tools. Then you scale it out by recruiting AI champions across the entire business. This is the structured path to get from fragmented experiments to a true AI-native organization.
I'll leave you with this final thought. The shift to an agentic digital workforce, well, it's already happening, with or without a formal strategy. So the only question that really matters is who in your organization is intentionally designing the operating model for this new reality. Because the ones who do, they're the ones who will define the future.